Welcome back to Real Airgun Adventures, and today let's see what a £20 air rifle looks like. So this is a Norica. It's actually a model 73 Norica, but it's stamped Phantom gun mark, which is a bit different, I suppose. It's a 1980s, fairly run-of-the-mill air rifle. Norica is a Spanish manufacturer. This was quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Distressed. And I'll be honest, I haven't done a great deal to it. The stock I've washed with some soapy water, allowed it to dry, applied a couple of coats of wax. The metalwork, it has been well and truly soaked in ballistol, and then I've applied some incredibly fine wire wool, 4/0 or 4/0, depending on where you're from, which is wire wool that is barely abrasive. And I've followed the grain of the metal, because believe it or not, ferrous steel has a direction of flow, and if you follow that, you're much less inclined to take off all the bluing, just the rust. And actually, considering how rusty this was, there's still some rust on it. The remaining bluing does look pretty good, which is surprising. So I didn't actually think I'd get away with it, but I have. It cocks and shoots quite well. It's developing around about 7 foot, well, 6.5, 7 FPE, with JSB exact Diablos, which is what came to hand when I tested it. I popped the scope on there. That's a scope that's been kicking around for a while, and I get it out and play with it and put it away. It's branded BSA. It does say BSA on the side. I can't even remember how I came by it. It's a little bit scratched up. It's predominantly made of plastic. The optics aren't amazing, although they're quite clear. It's a 4x32, nothing at all special. It's just a cheap scope I've got kicking around, which I occasionally put on a rifle. So I've given this one a go because it is missing its foresight, which was probably a globe type foresight, which was probably worth more than a rifle, if I'm honest. Rear sight here, this is something out of my box of tricks that I put on, and I've got a selection of bits and pieces. I can probably rustle up a foresight for it, but I thought rather than do that, I'll put the scope on it and just show you what £20 can buy you. Now, I bought this from a gun shop. This is obviously a part exchange or something they bought in and didn't want to do any work on. It was rusty, knocked about, and they probably just thought it's not worth it. You know, full retail, 35, 40 quid, probably with a scope on it. They just didn't want to do that. Who can blame them? So I've picked it up for 20 quid. I've spent, I think, about 2 hours messing around with it. Obviously, I've had to take it apart to get in there to see if it's okay. It is okay, nothing too bad. The spring's a bit twangy, probably always was. I could make a liner for it, maybe I will. But I just thought it was a nice little rifle, and it seemed a shame it may end up being taken apart for spares. And actually, there are still spares available for these, the Model 73. It's a smallish rifle. It does shoulder quite nicely, and it's got a very nice 2-stage adjustable trigger. Now the trigger there is actually, it's a metal blade, it's a metal trigger guard. It's not dissimilar to a great deal of the modern adjustable triggers. It feels quite nice. It's a bit of creep, but it's an old rifle. It just feels like it's, if it was, someone said to me this was a 3 or 4 year old rifle, based on the trigger, I believe them. The rest of it is a giveaway. So it cocks very smoothly, very easily. There's no safety on this whatsoever, but that's because of its age. It's an early 1980s model. It's quite nice. Tell you what, I'm going to put a pellet into the target up there. I keep saying this, don't I? I'm not ready, I'm not organised. Guarantee you it's going to be it's a 2-2, isn't it? Which, there's a 2-2. I really should think about what I'm going to do before I do it, and then I can at least be prepared. So this way you can have a listen to the the sound that it makes. Right, just make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. There we go. Well, that isn't bad, is it, for an old banger? Anyway, I'll put 4 or 5 into a target for you at, this is 0 to 25 yards. We'll come back. I'll just flick over what I've actually done. It hasn't cost me anything, but I do have the benefit of having boxes of bits and pieces, so I can generally rustle up rear sights and screws and bolts and things that I need. Trigger guards as well, oddly enough. Got quite a big collection of those now. Anyway, I'll shoot some targets and I'll be right back. That's not bad, is it, for an old girl? So what I've really had to do is clean off the rust, and that's done with Ballistol very fine wire wool. Now with the barrel, I work in a circular motion, left to right, because that's the way that the metal is made. For the actual cylinder, which is pressed out of a single piece of metal and then welded, that's linear. Again, plenty of oil, lots of lubrication to make sure that you're not going to do any damage to whatever bluing is left. Now the bluing that is left is quite thin, but it is intact. Same on the barrel. There's some mottling and a bit of brown going on, but overall it's pretty good. The stock, I did think I'd need to refinish the stock. As it turned out, soapy water allowed it to dry for a day, and then I applied 3 coats of wax. Now the wax I use is my homemade stock wax, which I've covered in a previous video. That was the truth about gun oil, I think. Basically it's my version of a Ballistol stock wax, and it does work very well, and it brings these old rifle stocks back from the dead. And that's quite a tough finish now. That is waterproof and it will last me for a year. I don't need doing again. It's no worse than polishing the shoes, believe me, it's really straightforward. And that really is it. It's had a little bit of grease on the spring. You've heard the spring, it's not too bad. There's a slight twang to it. So 20 quid can buy you quite a good serviceable little air rifle. This isn't something that you're going to go hunting with. This is plinking around the back garden, shooting tin cans. You probably could have a go at some rats at sort of 15 yards or so, but I wouldn't advise it. But if you want to get into air gunning and your local shop sells used air rifles, they've almost certainly got more than one of the rifles they've taken in that needs some work, and that work can quite often just be cosmetic, and it's just applying a little bit of common sense and spending a bit of time on it. The actual cleaning of rust, it's a practice thing. I've done quite a lot of it, so I'm quite good at it now, I suppose. If you go too mad and you take off what's left of the bluing, it's not the end of the world. It just means that you're going to have to buy some cold blue and refinish the whole thing, which then gets expensive and time consuming, and to be honest, for a £20 Norica 1980s air rifle, it's probably not worth it. But because I haven't had to do that, I've got myself a nice little smart sporter style air rifle that I may tweak around with, and if I do, I'll come back and let you know. But in essence, no, I haven't gone mad. You can buy an air rifle for 20 quid. It doesn't take a great deal of work to bring it back from the dead. Don't pick up something with big cracks in the stock. If it's so rusty that the thing won't even break, then you don't want that either. But a little bit of common sense. Go to a reputable gun shop. Don't buy things off of mates they found in their garage or you've seen advertised on, I don't know, some dodgy website. It's only going to end in tears. Stick to the registered firearms dealers, and you'll get yourself a bargain. Anyway, I'll put some links in at the end because you might be interested in where this came from. It's my friends at Protect Supplies. They also have a myriad of spares and some quite unusual spare parts as well, and it's not expensive. So if you've got yourself an old rifle that needs some bits and pieces, you might be able to get it going again, or at least cosmetically make it look a lot better. That little rear sight there has been kicking around for a couple of years. It just fits on there a treat. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'll be back again soon, so please like and subscribe. It's a big thank you to everyone that did, everyone that has, and everyone that does. It's much appreciated. I'll be back very shortly with 2 or 3 new product videos for reviews, and obviously I'm still working on this Brocock with the PAR 007V and the Viron scope. I've got some footage. I'm hoping to get out again to make that into a decent length of video and give it a good test. And there's still that Crossman, not Crossman, it's a Beeman with the 2 barrels. So that's coming up soon as well. Anyway, that'll do. I'll be on my way. See you again soon. Bye.